Good morning. Today, I offer my personal experiences of how St. Francis de Sales has helped heal my relationships. Like many of you, I've been blessed with many roles. I'm a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, an employee, a professor, a neighbor, a volunteer, and perhaps like yours, my life is a magical juggling act of commitments that would make Siegfried and Roy look like amateurs. These wonderful roles offer opportunities to encounter so many people in different contexts. I witness and I create conflict, but when I'm strong, I can work to heal those relationships in my life. Salesian Spirituality is a wonderful tool to do so. When I consider my core relationships, my 5 sisters and 2 brothers come to mind, for they first showed me what it really means to be in relationship with others. I think of the 2 sets of bunk beds in the crib that lined up my bedroom in our 1950s split-level house. I recall very loud dinner tables, fights in the bathroom, we were racing to get our hair done. These 7 people, for 5 decades, have brought great joy in my life, as well as great conflicts. Our disagreements are far fewer than when we were children, but they are also more serious and more painful. 20 years ago, we argued whether we should end our dad's life support when he was in the burn unit. 10 years later, we had the same disagreement when it was our sister's turn to die. And just last weekend, my younger sister hung up on me when I suggested that my mother's memory problems really weren't all that serious. Another sister is mad at me that I still talk to her ex-husband. And don't even get me started on our list of off-limit topics. Trump, Biden, masks. I think you guys all get that. But it's in these closest of relationships where healing can sometimes be the hardest to achieve. Our spoken and unspoken conflicts wear away at the relationships that we have dedicated a lifetime to build. With my husband of 2 decades, conflicts can also abound. Lying beside him in bed at the end of the day in the stillness of the night can be one of the most intimate of moments. And yet, when there are conflicts between us, those can also be the absolute loneliest. For relationships with the ones who know us best, those closest to us, the ones we are journeying through life beside, are often the ones where healing comes the hardest. Sometimes we just become accustomed to the gaps. We accept the divisions as just another aspect of the relationships. We wait with uncertain anticipation for when that which divides us will again be brought up, the argument replayed, and that divide forged deeper. Most of us know that St. Francis tells us, be who you are and be that well. But to do so, I believe we must let others, especially those closest to us, be who they are today, not who they were when they were kids or when we got married, not 20 years ago when that husband hurt us so deeply or when you recall that parenting mistake that your wife made. I think a more contemporary interpretation of St. Francis' popular maximum for our closest relationships is be who you are and leave your baggage at the door. Especially today in our contentious, polarized world, we must see our family and our loved ones for who they are as they stand before us. That, I believe, is how we can help heal the relationships that are most proximate, most intimate, and most important to us. It's so easy to keep bringing up the past, either in deed or in words, with our spouse and our family. It's convenient to draw upon past transgressions and arguments, whether we are the offended or the offender. When we do this, we cannot move forward, we cannot feel peace, and we cannot have the unity that loving relationships require. In my own experience with conflict, I try to take a slow, deep breath, direct my intention, and draw upon those wonderful little virtues that St. Francis espouses: patience, humility, gentleness. Our patron saint tells us we must be patient with others, but most patient with ourselves. We must recognize how hard it is to keep our mouths shut and to stop dwelling on past conflicts. St. Francis teaches us that conflict is important for growth in relationship. But in facing such conflicts, we must bring more to the table than the infraction. We must bring those little virtues if we want to truly heal. A favorite song of mine by the Divine Comedy is called Don't Mention the War. It has a great line about conflict. Come and forget all the your wrongs and my wrongs. Live and let bygones be bygones. Come and forget all the your wrongs and my wrongs. Live and let bygones be bygones. So how do we do this? How do we really allow bygones to be bygones? Francis helps us with this also. Bygones become bygones when we honestly and humbly recognize that we stand with stones in our hands, ready to throw them at those closest to us. St. Francis reminds us to drop those stones, set our pride aside, and humbly acknowledge our weaknesses. There's no use in keeping score in relationships, but rather when we remind ourselves that we are the creators as much as the recipients of that pain, we may just allow bygones to be bygones. In the context of moving beyond conflict and seeking healing, I believe Francis' instruction on humility is most insightful. He suggests that a good beginning for learning humility is to simply bend to the will of others when we are not required to. In so doing, we recognize that we are all sinners who can forgive and be forgiven. Our siblings, our friends, our spouses, they all want to be forgiven as much as we do. They want to be accepted and loved for who they are today and not reminded of their worst moments or their greatest sins. The same can be said about our work situations. Similar conflicts arise at work when our colleagues make the mistake or when we treat them based upon the behavior of the past. Of course, at work, we must address errors and poor judgment, but we can also forgive. We can truly forgive, for forgiveness is not something reserved only for family or for church. Francis calls us to live our ordinary lives in an extraordinary way. By bringing these little virtues to our offices, our boardrooms, our classrooms, we can do that. We can bring these to our volunteer and our parish activities too. For when we humbly step out of the limelight and let others shine, when we patiently deal with that overzealous coworker, when we graciously and humbly promote ourselves on LinkedIn, when we gently offer feedback and modestly accept criticism, when we do all this, we are living those virtues. And in so doing, we achieve unity that can foster meaningful relationships as well as professional and personal gain. What makes healing in my own life so challenging is that, like you, I have so many significant relationships that I must nurture. And so when I feel union and peace with my husband and all's going well at work or my volunteer commitments, there's still demanding kids I have to deal with. And one of them will tap a nerve, set a spark, and that uneasy feeling of conflict arises. And this happens pretty much every day. How can it not? I'm the mother to 4 children, 3, soon to be 4 teenagers. Parenting is so much harder now. I can't believe I once thought that 2 a.m. feedings were the hardest part of being a mom. Whew. Just as you feel strongly about your kids and grandkids, I think mine are incredible. They're generally pretty kind, fun, and loving. They have amazing sibling relationships that I hope will sustain them throughout their lives. But day in and day out, my house is a loud, chaotic place where schedules are crossing, moods are intersecting, and conflicts abound every single day. My family lives in a tiny little Philadelphia row house. It's full of joy, but it also features 1 bathroom we share every morning. 3 boys live in a 9 by 11 bedroom. We have 1 TV, and there's so much more they fight over. The conflicts I have with them cover a lot more than just whose turn it is to use a shower. Recent conflicts around my 18-year-old daughter. She wants to get a tattoo that I do not approve of. She's begging to spend the weekend at the shore with her boyfriend. It's no big deal, Mom, no biggie. And she does all she can to avoid going to Mass. Her brother, the high school junior, he has his own set of conflicts. We disagree on his friend choices, why he can't go to certain parties, and how he'll be spending his summer days. Working, hopefully. The high school freshman discovered newfound freedom and fights over all parental controls I put in place. Bedtime, Xbox, phone use. The youngest pushes me and demands my attention constantly. He's playful, but he antagonizes at least one of his older siblings once an hour. So get it, once an hour, every day. You do the math. Now you know why I came down to Virginia for the weekend? In my role as mother, once again, I seek solace, comfort, and guidance in the words of our dear St. Francis and the direction from the Oblates. I draw upon Francis's call to try to live a life of gentleness. When my children test my greatest limit, when they make those dangerous choices, when they do exactly what I told them not to do, I try so hard to remember Francis's words. He says, when you encounter difficulties and contradictions, do not break them, but bend with gentleness and time. Bending, but not breaking. I think that is such a wonderful image for parenting. Being an engaged parent is such a precarious role. At any point, you say the wrong thing, respond without gentleness, and that's it. The moment's gone, and slowly you have to patiently find your way back. St. Francis states that it's easier to be patient with those who we do not greatly esteem because we do not expect great charity from them. But in family relationships, the familiarity makes it easiest for them to hurt us. And in these exchanges, we often need to demonstrate the most amount of patience. In all family relationships, spouse, parent, siblings, I believe Francis's greatest lesson is that it is only through a calm and still heart can we achieve real peace. When our hearts are the collectors of wrongs, when we remind our spouse and our children of their failures instead of their successes, then we remove any opportunity for us, for our spouse, our relationship, our family, our homes to experience peace. This lack of peace also derives from insecurity and fear. Our imaginations take us down these dark paths of worry and pain. We send our kids off to the bus, to the parties, the prom, the big game. They go to college. And each time they walk out that door, we launch them into a crazy world of conflict, of drugs, of bullying, of violence, of peer pressure. We embrace their growth, and yet with each step they take, our anxiety can grow, and then we miss the chance to be fully present for them. Once again, I look to St. Francis. He comforts us with insightful words. Do not fear the changes and the chances of this life. Rather, look to them with hope that as they arise, God will deliver you out of them. He is your keeper. He will lead you safely through all things. When you cannot stand, he will bear you in his arms. For do not fear what may happen tomorrow. Our God will either shield you from suffering or he will give you the strength to bear it. When I look at my role as mother, Francis's direction has helped me enjoy, celebrate, and treasure the opportunity to change a messy diaper, sit at that painful piano recital, comfort a child after a loss, make dinner for 6, or stand at the soccer lines on a cold, blustery day. Each and every moment that I'm allowed to be a mother to these children, I know I'm engaging in a holy act. This is what I learned from Francis. This is what the Oblates taught me, that in the simple, ordinary acts that I perform every single day, I am living Jesus. There is true beauty and grace in the tedious task of caring for children and running a household. The world will and has acknowledged what I have achieved in my career as a business owner and a professor. Fewer official accolades, however, come from being a mom or a sister. Francis tells me who I am, whatever I am doing, when I am using the gifts that I have so generously been given, I am being holy. I am doing God's will. We have spent much of this morning reflecting on the power of St. Francis's words and how they have inspired, comforted, and healed our lives. His words are now a regular part of my life. If it was not for this exposure to St. Francis, I would not hear my children console each other by saying, just be who you are, it's fine. And I would not consider setting the table for our family dinner to be a holy, a meaningful, and a critical act in the course of my day. Francis's teachings and his many maxims are powerful calls to live with and through Jesus. They encourage us and guide us as we seek healing. They support us when we do so. And so, I say to all of you, when you want to experience healing in your lives, find Francis. Thank you.